Lord Heseltine, thank you for joining us on Piers Morgan Uncensored. We really appreciate it. So we've only just actually left the trading relationship just over 2 years ago. It's the beginning of a long-term new relationship, and yet already it seems that some people are trying to sort of bring us back ever closer together. I know that was always your view. Were you invited to this conference?
No.
Well,
Would you like to have been?
So you feel you missed out. But in terms of where we are...
I don't feel I missed out at all.
OK, well, in terms of where we are, since we left
Yes.
the trading relationship, we've got our trade with the EU is actually up some 10% since the end of the transition period. It's up some 40% since the end of 2016. Our foreign direct investment since 2016 is about the highest of any European nation, well comparable. So it seems to me that people are sort of, they're essentially sort of talking down Brexit before actually it's been given a chance to maximise the opportunity.
Well, if the figures that you've just given were accurate, why are people so upset? Why is there a concern? I mean, you just depicted a triumph. Now, let me just sort of help you a little. You see, it's not the people like me. Did you see today's Telegraph? Brexit is dead.
Yes, I did. That was
and
an
those
article...
are your most fanatical supporters. So
that's right.
How can your greatest supporters allow this sort of adverse propaganda be published?
That was an article by Cheryl Jacobs, Lord Heseltine. But the point is, what she was concerned about is that the establishment figures...
Let's start again. What about this one? The Bank of England. People £1,000 worse off. The Daily Telegraph. It's not me. It's your friends.
The reality is that our GDP growth since
the reality,
referendum...
I've just told you what the reality is. I've just told you what the reality is.
No, the reality is the figures, Lord Heseltine,
trying to
and the
delude
figures
people, as you've been doing for 6 years. How can you dare to say that it's only 2 years or 4 years? The referendum was
because that's a question of fact, Lord Heseltine. It is only 2 years
nearly
since the end of the
7
relationship.
years ago. And the people who were in charge in the government of the day, Boris Johnson, Liam Fox, David Davis, did you think they knew what they were doing? 2 years before we had a general election. Then we were told we'd get Brexit done. Why now? Are we still waiting to know what that means? I'll tell you why. Because it meant a pack of lies.
Well, Lord Heseltine, let me tell you why. The reason that we're in the position we are is because Remainers such as yourself worked very, very hard to thwart Brexit ever happening. So you can recite the many years since 2016 but we've had no time to actually make it work.
You've had 6 years with your hands on the levers of power.
Well, we'd love to have had 6 years.
Don't tell me it's people like me or civil servants.
OK, Lord Heseltine, bear with us a second.
Doing?
Let's come to our panel. Anne, many people say that we've got Brexit in name only. What's your view of that? Where do you think we are in terms of the journey and the opportunity?
Well, I certainly think we're not taking advantage of the opportunities that are available to us. That is the first thing. Secondly, those opportunities are limited by the agreement that was reached, which was, I think, Brexit in name only. But even so, we have got some freedoms that we could use, and we're not using them. And that is why people are so disappointed. Also, of course, things have been conflated. You know, we've got inflation largely as a result of huge spending during COVID. It's not just confined to Britain. It's in other countries as well. But everybody says, you know, post-Brexit, therefore on account of Brexit. And that is a nonsense argument. And, I mean, with all due respect to Lord Heseltine, he'll know I'm a huge admirer of Lord Heseltine, but he's just got this one completely wrong. We have not had 6 years. We've only been legally out for 2.
I think that's a very valid point, Ann Widdecombe. But do you think we Brexiteers, and of course I was also a very vocal supporter of Brexit, would we do well to acknowledge that thus far it hasn't been a triumph. We have to kind of accept that bit,
It
right?
isn't that Brexit hasn't been a triumph. It's that how we have handled Brexit hasn't been a triumph. That deal, which we all warned was flawed right from the start, is at the root of a great many of the problems that we have. Brexit isn't to blame. What we are doing, or rather what we are not doing with Brexit, is to blame.
I can see Paula.
Paula, if you're going to do a job,
Yes.
let's do it properly.
Yes.
And let's give it a fair time.
Yes.
In order to show itself.
Absolutely.
That's it. We finished with you now.
But you can't do that if the foundation upon which you are working is false, is
Okay.
faulty.
Which bit?
And that premise was made on a lie. It was built on a lie. We lied to those of us in the East End. We lied to those of us up north. We lied to the
No,
fishermen.
nobody
Paula,
lied.
sovereignty
we
is not
lied,
false.
we
Sovereignty.
lied to those concerned
Who's
about
we?
immigration.
Who's this
Who's we? Who?
Those
I
who
didn't lie
pushed
to
for
anyone.
Brexit.
I pushed for Brexit. I
Lied
didn't lie
about
to
what was
anybody.
going to happen in relation to
Nonsense.
immigration. Lied about what was going to happen to the
Paula.
NHS and how it was going to be cared for.
Paula,
And
lie
we
is
know
a
that
strong word.
because we are paying the price. Is it true?
Hang on, okay,
well, then
so-
let's flip it round. Is it true that the NHS are now receiving £350 million
Actually,
a week?
it's receiving a lot
more.
more. It's receiving
Is it-
way more.
is
But
it-
you
is it
Remainers just do
true?
not want to accept
Yes, I think
Is
the
it
real
true
facts.
More.
that we were inundated by Turkish immigrants who wanted to come and settle here? Was that true?
I think the point.
Is it
the
true
point, what
that we
hangs
were
on-
We've got a
able
major
to
immigration
regain
problem.
control of our borders?
And the truth is, we've had the highest immigration in the year to June 22 ever.
Because you didn't regain control of the borders in the way that
We
you
could have done, but-
promised that
We
you
could
would
have
do.
done.
We
You
could have done,
promised.
but
We
this
could have
Coulda,
done.
woulda,
Conservative
shoulda.
government...
Coulda, woulda, shoulda. That is not the way to win something that's important
If
as
we've
making
still got
us
Lord
leave.
Heseltine here, I would like to ask him whether he thinks that the voters were sold a pack of lies. Is that-
Yes, isn't he?
What are you going to
Oh,
say
yes.
to that?
Absolutely.
You think
I say
absolutely that was the
exactly
case. So
I've
what
said ever
was the
since.
lie as far as you
Sorry,
were concerned?
Can I just answer the question?
Please.
They were sold a pack of lies, yes. And the greatest evidence of that is that 6 years later, when the Brexiteers have been in charge, we have not seen any of the benefits that we were told we would get. And that's because they were all fiction.
So I think your 6 years is fictional. You can't
Yeah,
justify
yeah,
that 6
yeah, yeah.
years.
Total fiction.
Forgive me, let us be pedantic on this one matter. Did the referendum take place in 2016?
Yes, but we didn't leave
Is
in
that
2016.
6 years?
Lord Heseltine, the
Oh,
end
I'm
of the
sorry.
trade...
ridiculous.
Lord
Just
Heseltine,
forgive me.
you know
Sorry.
fully...
So, look, can we just
didn't
stop?
leave.
Don't
Lord
just-
Heseltine,
don't
can we just
interrupt me.
agree
Will you
that the end
please?
of the relationship-
Will you please allow me to answer the questions you've put to me? In 2016, a government was formed in which Boris Johnson, David Davis, and Liam Fox, the principal advocates of Brexit, were put in charge of the three most important departments. So they were there 6.5 years ago.
And Lord Heseltine, we left 2 years ago.
left 2 years.
I'm going to ask one final question to you, Lord Heseltine, before we let you go.
Yes,
Would
yes.
you
Well,
rejoin
just-
the
but
EU,
before
or would you
but-
get on with doing the job properly?
I would get a job done properly by rejoining the European Union.
So then, Lord Heseltine, you're going to negotiate the worst possible deal with no leverage. How ridiculous! I thought you were a successful businessman.
I am a successful businessman.
Well, then you
and
know
that's
that would
why
be
I
a
know that
terrible
Brexit
negotiation.
Is a disaster. I love your interruptions. You see, you won't let me answer the questions because you can't bear the truth, and
Oh,
so
we're
you shout me
listening.
down.
We're
Let
listening.
me tell you frankly, you never listen. That's your whole problem. You just interrupt so that anyone who talks something you don't like, you try to shout them down. And, I mean, we dealt with the issue a few minutes ago. What was the motive of Boris Johnson's electoral victory? Get Brexit done. So why hasn't it happened?
Because
And it
people
hasn't
like you
happened
thwarted
because
it.
the promises.
That's why.
You see, there you are interrupting again.
It's
Exactly
a
the same.
conversation,
People like
Lord
me.
Heseltine. It's a conversation, not a
No,
monologue
this
from
is
you.
not a shout. This is a shouting match in which your technique is to shout down anyone you disagree with. You do
And
it
your
all the
technique
time.
is to
and
lecture
I knew
me.
perfectly well.
Your
Here you
technique
are.
is
You're
to
doing it again.
patronise
You're
and
doing it
lecture
again.
me.
I knew when I came on this program I would have to bear behave in a way that I deplore and to fight, get a word in edgeways, because you think that if you can censor what people are saying by shouting them down, you'll win the argument.
Lord Heseltine,
you'll never win the argument with me that way.
We're very grateful for your time, but the truth is you've actually spoken more than anybody else.
I bet you're not.
Thank you very much
I bet
indeed,
you're not
Lord
the least
Heseltine,
bit.
for your thoughts. And by the way, just to clarify, it's only 2 years since the end of the trading relationship.
You're off again. You've got trying to get the last word. I know the trick.
Came out too, we remember.
Just finally, Paula, before we conclude this piece, Lord Heseltine would rejoin tomorrow. Would you rejoin tomorrow?
And can I answer that in as long a time as you can give me? George Eustace told us how things have gone wrong. He finally admitted how things had gone wrong. And I have my friends and family in the East End who can tell you how it's gone wrong. We have the fishermen who can tell you how it's gone wrong. We have those up north who tell you how it can go wrong. We can have those who are sitting in Calais.
You haven't asked the question.
I say get it done properly.
Do it properly.
Get it done properly. It's voted, get it done properly.